Hello, and welcome to today's Opt to Thrive Manage Your Mind Mindful Moment.
Welcome to Opt to Thrive, your go-to podcast for women's wellness in midlife, designed to educate, support, and inspire you to live your very best life. And now your host, Dr. Karina Sims.
So today I want to talk about something that not a lot of us are very good at. That is saying no. I think that a lot of us have some element of people pleasing within us. And it can be really hard not only deciding what to say no to, but actually getting those words out of your mouth. The actual saying no bit. I think that learning to say no is a skill. And I think it's a really important skill that can not only protect our mental health, but our energy as well. So today, I want to talk you through a few strategies that I'm hoping can help you develop this powerful skill if it's something that you are still struggling with. So, number one, have a think about your priorities. I remember when I first realized how much easier it was to say no when I was really clear about my priorities. That was when my children were very young, and I was expected to work more. But I made it really clear where my priorities were, and that was a hard no for me. Most of the time, that was a relatively easy thing to do, but I will admit, there were times that I did feel a little bit guilty. And then in those times, I would often remind myself why I was saying no, and very quickly that guilt would go away. Never hung around too long. This reminds me of an experience I had going to a retirement party of a local obstetrician some years ago. Now, I'm pretty sure he was well into his 70s before he retired. So he worked a lot of years, and I had a conversation with him. My children at that time were probably kind of mid-primary school ages, and he said something to me that I've never forgotten. He said that the only thing that he regretted about his career was that he didn't spend more time with his family, that he worked too much, and that, he regretted not having that time with his family. And I remember feeling really, really bad for him. He's in his 70s and he's never getting that time back. Like, that is long gone. And there I was pretty much in the thick of it and really reconfirmed my stance of where I sat with my priorities. And again, just made it often easier to say no to things that were going to impact on my family. Okay, so before committing to anything new, just take a second and ask yourself a couple questions. What matters most to you right now? And what is this likely to impact by saying yes to this thing? Is it your family, your health, your personal goals, or your self-care time that you need to refresh or re-energize? If what you're being asked to do doesn't fit with your priorities, then most likely it's a good time to say no. Number two, check in with your energy levels. How are you feeling, physically and emotionally? If this thing that you're being asked to do feels like it's going to drain you, or you're going to end up feeling resentful, those are a couple of really good signs that it's time to say no. You're the only one that knows how you feel, and you are the only one that is going to protect your energy. If you're already exhausted from a busy week, saying no to some extra social gathering that's come up can really make all the difference in helping you rest and replenish your energy for the things that matter most to you. Number three, think about how this is going to impact on your mental health. Sometimes we say yes because we feel obligated, or we do it out of a sense of guilt. But if we constantly say yes, it's very likely over time it's going to lead to a lot of stress. We may become burnt out. We could get mentally fatigued. So ask yourself, is saying yes to this going to improve or worsen my mental health? So even for an example, if it's a family event, if it stresses you out and there's no real benefit to your emotional well-being, then saying no is a really valid option. Okay, number four, is there someone else that could step up, that maybe should be stepping up? do you really need to be the one to do it? Or would it be good for them to do it? Or for them to go through the process of finding alternatives? You don't always have to be the person that solves the problem. Sometimes the request could be something that causes others to step up, and that might be really good for them, or makes them have to find an alternative. Again, that might be a good experience for them. So think about how your saying no is going to impact that person or group, and ask yourself, are there other ways that they can still get the support they need without your involvement? Okay, so let's say that we've decided we're going to say no. Now remember, saying no doesn't make you a bad person. It's actually an act of self-respect. It's having your own back. I think we could all benefit from being kind to ourselves and recognizing that our needs are just as important as everyone else's. You don't have to explain yourself in great detail every time you say no. Sometimes it's just a simple, I can't commit to that right now. That's enough. I'd love to help, but I'm just unable to take anything more on at the moment. I think that having children did make it easier than when it was my own time I was being asked to give up. But with practice, that has gone a lot easier too. And I think as I age, I get questioned a lot less when I do say no to things. I'm pretty sure, though, that I say it with a lot more conviction now than I used to. There would have been a time when my no was probably more like a, maybe not. I don't think I can. So there's a little tip. When you do say no, say no. Be clear, be decisive, don't drag it out, because not dragging it out is going to make it a lot easier for everyone. You can share your reason if you want to, but you don't need to justify your decision. You don't need to give an elaborate explanation or make up an excuse. You have the right to protect your time and energy. I'm sorry, I can't make it this time, but I hope you have a great time. I've had a bit going on recently, and I just really need some downtime. I'm sorry, I just don't have the time for anything else right now. Keep it clear, keep it honest, keep it respectful. It's common for women to feel guilty about prioritizing their own needs. And guilt is pretty common when we say no. But this too shall pass. The more you say no, and you have your own back, the easier it's going to get and the less guilt you're going to experience. A lot of women have been conditioned to put everyone else first. Our children, our partners, our careers. But here's the thing. You deserve to take up space in your own life. Your passion matters, your joy matters, your time matters. Give yourself permission to say no to other obligations so that you can say yes to the things that truly bring you happiness and joy. Remember, self-care isn't just about resting. It's also about doing those things that make you feel alive, that fill up your cup. Connecting with your passions, for instance, can be a form of self-care that nourishes your soul. That's a subject for another mindful moment on another day. I hope you've enjoyed this Manage Your Mind mindful moment. And if you have, and you can think of someone else who might enjoy it, please pass it on. And don't forget to rate and review the podcast to make it more visible to those who might get something out of it too. Have a great week, everyone. And until then, I hope you opt to thrive.
The Opt to Thrive podcast is designed for information purposes only and is not engaged in the giving of medical advice. The information provided on the podcast should not be used for diagnosing or treating a health problem or disease. In no way should the information provided by Opt to Thrive be considered medical advice, and at all times the advice of a medical professional should supersede recommendations from Opt to Thrive. If you have or suspect you may have a health problem, you should consult your healthcare provider. The views expressed in this podcast are purely that of Dr. Sims and do not in any way reflect those of the institutions she contracts her medical services to.
Thank you for listening to Opt to Thrive. If you've enjoyed listening, please rate and share the podcast. You can visit our website at opttothrive.com and leave a comment for any subjects you would like to hear more about.